Blog Talk Radio.
You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. Hi, this is Victoria Vives with Earth Sky People Radio, and today we have a special guest. His name is Sacha, and he has been since 1999 in very important projects for bringing unity to humankind. These projects are New Earth Nation and also Humanidad, and I would like to introduce to you now to Sacha.
Hi, Victoria. Very, very happy to be with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you are available to share your message, to really make a difference in the world. You know, I feel that many times when we have a spiritual tendency, we may stay in the thoughts, in the heart, but not so much in the action. And I can see that you're really taking it very seriously and you are transforming things. And I really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. And, you mentioned Humanidad and a New Earth Nation or New Earth Project. So I can just speak a little bit about the distinction between the two. Humanidad is a foundation, an NGO, operating more at the political level and in the activist area. And so that is still a tool which we use, Humanidad. It has a long record now of engaging with governments, engaging with initiatives, multilateral initiatives, engaging in diplomacy and in politicking. But the New Earth Project, which is the beginning of the New Earth Nation, this was set up to not engage in politics, but to engage in human beings, a living planet and living men and living women, and how to create a platform, a planetary platform upon which living men and living women and a living planet can meet and engage without the interference of governments and religions and ideologies and bankers and wankers and all the rest of them who seek to parasite off the human families.
Thank you for sharing that. And, many times when I start thinking about all the things that are going on, all the things that we are doing to Mother Earth, I just feel either, that I want to start crying or I want to kill someone. And obviously those things are really not going to help. So for people that feel sometimes like me, that they don't really know how to start changing something maybe, or they don't know how to transform that energy into something that they can actually use to construct something new. What is the most important thing, the single most important thing that you would recommend for them so that they can move forward?
Well, I would suggest that the crying is very healing, and I would suggest that the crying itself is the first act, the first great action, to take one away from service to self and an ego perspective into service to others and into the more empathic way of being. So I would suggest that cry by all means and become one with your tears. Until you become one with your tears, you should cry. There is a space for tears, there's a space for crying, and it's very valuable. It's an energetic exchange. I would like to see more people crying in the world. That is by definition when people are moving into this space. And it's also very healing. And what we're seeing with the great turbulence in the world, with the flooding and the so-called climate change, this is the Gaia-centric tears. This is the way that the planetary body sheds tears and cries and engages with the cleansing and the healing process. The climate is an extension of the human a collective conscious and unconscious. And we are subject to cataclysm, to apocalypse, to Armageddon, to so-called climate change, and in direct proportion to the degree to which we release and relinquish our consciousness. So when we engage with our consciousness, we engage with the noosphere. We engage with the zeitgeist, the field of expression of the entire planet. We are the same organism. We are the same multidimensional, hyperdimensional, subdimensional technology as the entire planet. There is no separation, but we have to know it in order to become it.
Wow. Seriously, thank you for that. That's huge for me, seriously. Because I really, sometimes it's really, I feel that I need to be like a week just crying and crying, and normally I try to skip it, but it makes so much sense. And I feel that also the imbalance of the water in our planet, all this drought, is because we are not really crying what we need to cry. And, last night I had a ceremony for water transfiguration to bring more balance and connect with the water spirits so that we can really honor that powerful being that is water in our planet and connect with it. And I feel that what you just said is one of the things that we are missing, to really take time to connect with our feelings, to connect with our hearts and cry.
Yes. Well, I mean, here in Bali, we have the priests, and there are more temples and priests in Bali, I believe, than anywhere else on earth. Literally every household, including here, my home here, has a small temple that we built on the corner there. Every home has a temple built next to it. And that's part of the cosmology of the Balinese. But the priests speak about the climate change in a very positive way. They speak about, we've had in the last year so much rain. In the last few years, we've had extensive rain in Bali. And rather than get upset about it, all the Westerners living on the island have been very upset and thinking, oh my God, and the priests say, no, this is very positive. This means that we are being cleansed now, and it will be protecting us from the cataclysm to come, from the great apocalypse that is upon the earth. For those places that are suffering extensive rainfall right now, they are being cleansed in anticipation of this. I think there's some truth to that. Also, when you consider that the human bioform, the human body, is comprised principally of water. The entire planet, in fact, is comprised principally of water. We are known from a galactic perspective as the watery planet for a very good reason. The water molecule, the fluidity of water, is a living metaphor, a symbol of quantum consciousness in form. So when I'm standing in this space and I am projecting my plasma field into this surrounding, wherever I am, my energy form is moving into the ground, into the telluric energies of inner earth, and engaging with the primary water there. The primary water directly beneath my feet is everywhere. In the middle of the Sahara Desert, you go down, you come to water. Fact. So the water is the internet of the planet, inner earth, and it's communicating our intentions beneath our feet. And when we realize this, as above, so below, we are connected through the etheric internet. We're connected through the water, primary water intranet of the earth as well. And we, the living human, are the medium between those two, paramagnetic and dielectrics. We talk about electromagnetism. This is the true dance of Shiva and Shakti. This is the true dance of the god and the goddess, is electromagnetism. And Homo sapiens sapien, you and I, are the highest realization of electromagnetism as a living technology. Once we know this, and we can be a perfect conductor of perfect electromagnetism, this is when we fall into coherence with the patterns of perfection at the planetary level and then at the galactic level. And we become purely a conduit for the galactic mind, for super consciousness.
How amazing. I totally love that.
Water is the thing. Water is the conductor. So you are water. I am water. And if we recognize this, the sacred nature of the water molecule contained within us as well as all around us, and that is the conductor of our intention and our field of expression, it's a very powerful thing.
Indeed. And you know what? That also reminds me the web of light all around the world. You know, the energy from the earth, from the plant people, animal people, stone people, but then us are kind of disconnected from that grid because of the society we live in, the system that, especially in the last few centuries, has really separated us from one another. And that, I feel, is what also is creating a disaster in our earth. And I feel that, you know, we disconnected from that nature and connected into this system. And you mentioned about how when it rains, some people may complain, and we are creating this intentional community, my husband and I, and people also complain, oh, you know, I don't want to leave my comfort, and, you know, I don't know if I can do that full time, maybe I should just do it a few days a week. And I feel that we are so comfortable and so used and programmed and hypnotized to follow certain things that, what would you say, what would be your advice for people that has this resistance and, you know, really want to change their lives and change the world, but still are so dependent on the system?
So long as they feel dependent on the system, they are not able to accept any answer I may give to that question. So I wouldn't waste sacred breath on giving advice to anyone who was not soliciting that advice themselves through self-inquiry, through staying in their center and investigating their own heart and their own mind, their own consciousness. So this business of buying and selling illusions to one another, and believe me, anything I have to say to someone like that is just me selling another illusion. I have no intention of participating in that dance any longer. So I cannot speak to that. What I can do is live a life which is representative of that value, of those values that we are speaking of. And then what I can do is engage in offering, in service, all that is beautiful, all that falls into that pattern of perfection, that I can give fully to the world if the world chooses to participate in it. So the team of New Earth Project, who are manifesting collectively these patterns, these templates, these offerings, are doing so in service because we have already explored the inner dimensions and we have seen the coherence and the value and the beauty in those areas of perspective. And we are now engaging in the process of putting that out to the world, projecting it outward. And more people come in as a result, and they contribute with their creative expression and with their dreaming. And that collective dream becomes a greater projection of the collective aura, the collective plasma field, until such time as this incredible multi-dimensional, multifarious light source extinguishes all the darkness in this plane of existence. And that is absolutely what is happening. It is certified. It's going to be happening to mathematical precision. The galactic mathematics never fucks up. It is very, very accurate. We can choose to participate in that unfoldment, and we can enjoy as much of that intoxication as we choose to. That's the difference. How much do you want to enjoy the process? How much joy and delight and bliss do you wish to extract from this process of awakening and unfoldment? That you have the option over. Very little else.
I love that. Thank you. And it reminds me, you know, a couple of days ago that I emailed you with the link for joining today in the interview. And, you know, the way in which you answered and you said, you know, connect with my team, and I just really felt very welcomed. Energetically, I felt something very powerful happening. I felt that I was really belonging to something new. I had chills like for 10 minutes because I was feeling all that energy flowing through me. And, I feel that we really need to give a try to things, or at least I feel that for me, just to be here with you talking and really listening to you and see what you are doing, it is an amazing experience because, sometimes we are so, we have ideas, preconceived ideas, and when I see New Earth Nation in the beginning, I'm not sure, it's like, is this going to be something that is going to take my authenticity, or is really going to support who I am? But seriously, when I connected with you and you emailed me back and you introduced me to your group, I was like, wow, this is really like...
beautiful. And Victoria, that is reflective entirely of your own frequency, your own value, your own field of intention resonating to the value that you're meeting with. I mean, because there are some people listening to this broadcast who will absolutely feel the opposite. They will feel that I am a front man for some high Illuminati agenda. Others will feel that we are trying to engineer a new transhumanist utopia for the elites so that we can continue to conduct genocide. There are people who will project onto me and onto you and onto this conversation the measure and the value of their own heart. It will always be that way. It will never change. So I salute you for being equal to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, thinking about people that right now are in a situation of being homeless, and, maybe this is a situation of either being pushed out of the system because they don't fit, they don't comply, or they're not valuable for the system, or on the other hand, people that has found a way of sucking up from the system and living out that way. So how would you say that we can provide an opportunity for people like that to reintegrate if they choose to? Would this be something that you see possible?
Yes. Let's first address the homeless person. What you said was that there is a perception that many homeless people are the parasites living off the system. Let's be clear about this. There is no parasite in a living man or a living woman. They are not parasitic. They are victims of circumstance. They are also the people who are being harvested by the system. And whether we're talking about a sacrificial ritual sacrifice going on, and hundreds of thousands of people every year, mostly children, are being entered into this diabolical construct of ritual satanic sacrifice and so on. That is something which underpins our so-called civilization and has underpinned it for thousands and thousands of years. This is connected to the Draco bloodlines, which have variously engaged with the human story and which have now almost entirely lost their hold over the new song that is emerging. But the homeless people are very vulnerable. Homeless people, if you sit down, as I have done on 1,000 occasions in the last 25 years, and had 1,000 conversations with homeless people, I would tell you where their value exists. It exists in their heart. It exists in their story. They all have a story, and their story is incredibly rich, invariably. Even the one that is drunk on methylated spirits and jabbering like a demon, they have a story. And I think that every single one of these souls is of considerable value. They are all of them or variously acting as conduits to the lower astral realms. So you see a lot of demonic possession and quasi-demonic possession of entities and intelligences operating through the lower astral realm into these vulnerable members of the human family who have no home, who have no families, who have no stability, no means. And they are acting in a sense as a decompression valve for many of us who are being protected from this lower astral intervention because of these brothers and sisters on the streets who are victims of that circumstance. They're acting as a kind of conduit. So there's always an exchange. It is always something which is taking place with the permission at the soul level. But I just really urge everyone to begin to really look at homeless people and really engage with them as a living man and a living woman. I used to do this when I was younger. I stopped when I hit about 35 years old because I couldn't handle it anymore. But I was doing a lot of empathic work with homeless people, and it was really getting into me. Because you really can get into the slipstream of their projection, and you can feel what they feel, see what they see, especially the ones who are very intoxicated and are talking to themselves because they've almost entirely been possessed at that point. And communicating with brothers and sisters in that way taught me a hell of a lot. And like I said, I stopped a few years ago because I couldn't handle it beyond a certain point. But I saw the beauty in it. I saw the beauty of just not having any judgment about how they got there, but just simply entering into their slipstream and seeing the value of this being. Can we, New Earth Nation, become the resurrection principle for homelessness? Absolutely. Are we likely to become a community of homeless people? Fine by me. I have no prejudice against homeless people. What we won't see in New Earth communities is people being intoxicated on methylated spirits or cheap liquor. That is not going to happen. Or being engaging with the chemical dependency of any order of magnitude. That will not emerge through the New Earth fractal community model. It cannot. There is no space for it. There is no need for it, and so it will not eventuate. So we're not going to see people staggering around drunk or getting stoned in the community. People who wish to participate in ceremonial earth medicine, that is entirely a matter for their own calling. But you have to understand that people only fall into these mutant dependencies on alcohol and sex and whatever, base appetite, in direct proportion to the need for the soul to fill a vacuum which is not being filled in our existing civilizational model, which, as I said earlier, is very fucked up by definition. So once we've created an environment, a social ecology within which people can love and be loved, can feel dignified and beautified, respected, engaged, then all of the need for those dependencies falls away as a natural product of that awakening. So we have no concern about communities being filled with hobos and homeless people, because another factor being that all of those people entering into any New Earth community will have to have realized their own value for exchange, because you cannot move into a 0 point community and simply sit on the grass and get drunk, unless you're a bloody good poet writing very good poetry or doing very good art, in which case, if that's your measure of value and exchange, that can have a place in the economy, but not otherwise.
Thank you, yes. And I want to clarify, I don't have anything against, homeless people. In fact, what you're sharing about your story of sitting down with them and talk with them is what I was doing in Spain until, seriously, my heart was totally broken. I couldn't take it anymore because I was really aligning so much with their energy that I felt myself that I was going to lose myself too.
Exactly. You understand.
Yes, so thank you for sharing that. And, it's one of those things that I really wish that we can contribute a way for people to really be who they are. We really don't need more that fit in the system. We really don't need more people that are all like the same with a cookie cutter, all of them, we really need each person's gift. And I'm so sure that many of these people that maybe are disconnected and are homeless, when they reintegrate to this grid of life, is going to be a transformation, incredible transformation.
And don't forget as well that figures like Khalil Gibran, figures like Rasputin, have been jinn characters. There have been thousands, millions of them in history, and they are effectively hobos. I mean, they are people who are inhabiting the crack in the pavement, and that is exactly how they get to create the lens in the heart to shape history, to shape civilization.
Beautiful. So, in my radio show, one of the focus is also about becoming an intergalactic society. What is your perspective on this? Do you feel that we can really connect with other civilizations outside of Earth and create those communities?
We have done for millennia, and that continues. Whether or not people are tuning into the bandwidth of consciousness, which allows them to perceive that heightened reality, that is another question. But have we been engaging with the galactic story and with numerous intelligences, off-world intelligences, and inner Earth intelligences? Yes, we have. Some of them are subdimensional, some of them are hyperdimensional, some of them are transdimensional. I mean, yes, we are simply, as human beings, an embodied aggregate of the galactic DNA. So we are arguably the greatest DNA or galactic royalty embodies in the human form, because we elected a very long time ago to become precisely that medium, the Christos principle, the Bodhisattva principle. Not Bodhisattva simply for earthlings, but Bodhisattva for the entire field of intelligence and expression in this quadrant of the universe, the third density field of the universe. So we are the accreted value of embodiment of the galactic story. We contain the DNA of thousands, maybe millions of different intelligences, arcane stories going back millions and millions and millions of years. If we simply want to look at the recent chapter in the human story, one can speak in terms of 280-odd thousand years, maybe 300,000 years in this seeding of the human narrative, but there have been various seedings of the human story. This planet will ultimately fall into entropy completely, will become space dust. This entire quadrant of the multiverse will become space dust, and then it will resurrect again in billions and billions of years into the template, the celestial template that exists. And Tara, or Earth, will reemerge again and become again a playground or a breeding ground, a cross-fertilization ground for the emergence of soul. Because at the end of the day, we are simply the aggregated value of the emergence of soul coming from the void. So when we look at the reptilians or the Arcturians or the Pleiadians or the Zeta Reticulans, we have different forms of extraterrestrial, different forms of intraterrestrial, and we can play this game in our imagination or in reality as much as we like. I've sat down with members of parliament and with great academic minds, even with one head of state who has spoken very freely to me behind closed doors about their engagement with extraterrestrials. I'm dealing with astronauts, I'm dealing with physicists and biochemists and all sorts of people who are informing this story. In fact, we're making a film about it, which should be out next year sometime. And this is ultimately what we are, is the totem of the aggregated galactic story. So for us to even be thinking in terms of, do we think it exists or doesn't exist, what do we think about? I mean, you and I know it's a nonsense to have that conversation. Of course we are fucking galactic royalty. Of course we've lived for billions of years in trillions of incarnations, and so it goes on. None of that matters. What matters is here and now, and you and I. Nothing else matters. What do we choose to conjure into manifestation with the mutual projection of our auric field? The colors that we are, the colors that we represent. in our multidimensionality. That is of value, and let's see what we can dream up together.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So now my situation, for example, that I imagine other people is wondering the same than me. You know, my husband and I are selling this house where I live in that I love so much, and of course it takes, you know, courage to sell it, but I really want to create something new. So we are starting the intentional community here in Los Angeles with the money that we take from this house. And we, of course, thought of New Earth Nation. So what would you say would be the process of how we could collaborate, or how would this work? Would it be that we, I don't know, you know, I still have the fear of getting into a system and not be sovereign, even though I feel your heart and I do feel your energy when I connected with your people. So I'm grateful for that, but I would like to address those thoughts for myself and for others.
Victoria, let me just say that all we are offering is the tools whereby you can engage with that full sovereignty. That's all that New Earth Project is doing, is explicitly giving to people and communities the tools that they require under law, and in terms of natural law as well. We are simply manifesting the tools that can allow for people to claim their sovereignty. We are not a centralized system which is assimilating people or assimilating resources or assimilating land. We have no interest in that. The New Earth, the trust, universal trust that we have set up is a docking, atmospheric docking place where land can dock into it as part of this collective. But it is very much you are the micronation. You and your husband become the micronation, or the collective of living men and women in the community that you form and that will continue to evolve. That is the micronation. We can give you templates for the Constitution, and you would be advised to follow the forms that we offer you, because that is the path of least resistance for you to be able to lay claim to that sovereignty, and thereby put your local and federal government on notice under the covenant of, within the covenant of fellowship. This is not aggressive, this is not confrontational, but at the same time, we won't take any shit from organized mafia, because that's what government is, organized crime. And they've done it in a very sophisticated way. They've done it in such a way that 98% of the officials and the bureaucrats and the functionaries don't even know that they're engaged in organized crime. That's a clever confidence trick that we've managed over the last 300 years to allow, to permission. The point here is that you are a micronation if you so declare it. You are the manifesto, you embody the manifesto, you write your constitution, you submit it, and you can then lock into the collective field that we've created, which will put the multilateral political chess game in check, using their own rules of engagement. This is law, and this is where the zero-point economy comes in as well. If we are giving you and your husband and your community the tools and the knowledge transfer to allow you to establish your own micronation, and then to establish your own currency, your own means and value of exchange, show you how to do it, peg that currency into the New Earth exchange. That becomes a matter for you and thousands of other micronations. And understand this, one human being can be a micronation. One human being should declare themselves as a micronation. But because that means you're basically putting all of these fictions on notice. These other governments, the United Nations, the European Union, the United States Corporation Government, the United Kingdom Corporation Government, the Mozambique Corporation Government, the Tanzania Corporation Government, the Brazil Corporation Government. They are all corporate fictions. They are all systems, fictions. They don't exist. They are bad ideas dreamt into being by Jesuits and priests, Babylonians, who have stood between humans and their humanity. Now that we have awoken to that dream, khalas, as the Arabs say, let's just end it, void, and start again. Why? Because we say so.
Right, right. That's hypnosis that we are all in. And I feel that, I'm sure I have some layers to peel off from that hypnosis and to continue realizing how free we are and, really embrace my sovereignty, because it's like we are born into this system. And sometimes it reminds me of how is my relationship with my cat. My cat, if he would be outdoors, he would know how to hunt and how to find food. But if you put any of us in the wild, it's like, and I mean, in my case, I'm learning primitive skills, and I have a knowledge of how to do certain things in the wild. But most people, if we are put there, we really cannot survive. And that is what sometimes also worries me a little bit. If something happens with the system and it collapses, all these people that maybe are not familiar with how to survive on their own, what can they do?
They will learn very quickly, Victoria. The human adapts very quickly. I will remind you and your listeners that the human family has been subjected to genocidal intervention for thousands of years. And more recently, I would suggest since the Second World War, the human family has been under attack more than ever before. You look at the various, whether you're talking about AIDS or you're talking about so-called bird flu, avian flu, swine flu, now this Ebola bullshit being dreamt up by the CIA, bad operatives within the intelligence community who have gone rogue a long time ago. They are working for a military-industrial complex, which is connected to one of the negative extraterrestrial stories. All of that stuff is absolutely real. We have presidents and five-star military generals, naval officers, interceptor jet pilots, astronauts, physicists, biologists who have worked within the complex for the last half a century, who will testify in grand juries and to congressional hearings about the sheer illegitimacy and treasonous nature of the reality of our so-called government, which is really shadow government driven and controlled. Like I said, 98% of all parliamentarians, of all officials, of all the people who are functionaries of the system don't even know, because they are also drinking the Kool-Aid, or even worse, they're drinking the Coca-Cola, or even worse, they're drinking the fluoridated water, which is calcifying their pineal gland, and they cannot think, because biochemically, they are being mutated. Genetically, they have been downgraded. They do not think because they cannot think. They cannot think because they do not think. It is a vicious cycle, which does unto itself like the mythical Ouroboros eating its own tail. That is end of days. That is the Quetzalcoatl myth. That is what we are forced now to recognize as the story, the bad song that we have dreamt into being. It's okay. Awaken from that and move on. We don't need to be victim to any of that any longer by simply stepping outside. Stop paying taxes. Plant cannabis on every street corner. Go, kids, go and do it. Plant cannabis in every public square, every street corner, every flower pot you can. That stuff will heal. I don't smoke cannabis. I've never even puffed marijuana, Victoria. This is God's truth. I have no interest in it myself, but I think it's a very profound and very beautiful medicine. And I know for a fact that Fukushima and the depleted uranium radiation from Fukushima could be remedied by cannabis alone, by planting sufficient amounts of that. That is known to electrochemists and to advanced physicists who understand scalar torsion and fractal energetics. Plant cannabis on every street corner. Wherever you see those godless police cameras and speeding cameras and surveillance cameras in malls and in streets, go and cover them up with black graffiti. Do whatever you need to do. They have no goddamn right intervening in our lives and peering up our anuses or into our privacy, whether it's in the streets or in our home through the screens of our computers. Trust me, the intelligence network is highly, highly toxic, highly deviant, and has declared war against the human family. So fight back, people, living men and living women. but do so with a sense of joy. Do so with a sense of fun. Like I said, why be subjected to surveillance cameras in our streets? Fuck off. We have no interest, thank you very much, in being surveilled. I don't know a living man or woman that I would respect or sit down and have a coffee with who enjoys being surveilled by the police through remote cameras. It's a disgusting civilizational miasm which is being perpetrated against human beings in order to control us, in order to penalize us, in order to try and generate new rules and regulations and statutes and codes that can penalize us and commercialize us and vampire off us and drag us into courtrooms and then drag us into cells because we're worth more in prison than we are on the streets because of the way that our birth bonds and the prison bonds work. Okay? It's all pretty screwed up. So people, don't play the game.
Yeah, all of this also is keeping us always in fear. We are always like, oh my goodness, I have to pay the taxes. If I don't pay them, I have to make sure I don't make any rule. And that is the frequency that really keep us, that we cannot expand, right?
You absolutely bet that that's the case. I mean, I have a theory that I happen to know is factual, and I wish I had $5 million lying around because I would love to bring class action against the police and the emergency services in Western countries for the hertz frequencies and the decibels that they are putting out in the police sirens and the ambulance sirens. These are also designed to close down the pineal function of human beings, where you have thousands of these sirens, police sirens, constantly on the streets, and they're absolutely deafening. I mean, they just close you down. They are designed to also entrench and to anchor this fear matrix, again at the fractal level. This is how it works. You know, since the Second World War, our military-industrial complex has been very, very advanced in radar and in these kind of sciences, and they have been developing these technologies. This is warfare, pure warfare against human beings, okay, against our genome, against our DNA. And if we don't wake up to that, or if we're too afraid to wake up to that, or if we are too straight in our conceptual framework that we are unequal to the conversation, we are in dire, dire trouble.
Right. And how did you get to these realizations? Was something that happened in your life? What brought you to really...
Yeah, life happened in my life. Life happened in my life, and all one needs to do is to observe life to know the truth of these things. I mean, when did you last get a parking ticket? When did you last actually look at it and work it out? Where you parked, was that in the way? Were you hampering the flow of traffic? No, you weren't. Invariably, it was a smart move. Where you parked the car to go in and get a loaf of bread was a place that was intelligent. It was available. It wasn't holding up the traffic. Occasionally, you get a bad driver who parks very badly and causes a traffic jam. Well, let's just forgive that bad driver, or call him an asshole, or hoot your horn and make him feel embarrassed. We can self-police our communities in these ways. We don't need to be paying penalties to be commercialized, to be monetized and criminalized for simply trying to go about our function of existence. So nowadays it gets to the point where you cannot park your car anywhere because you have to go into a parking lot, or you have to do this and pay that and pay the other. And all of those monies are taxes. They're all one way or the other feeding back into the corporation state, into the parent corporation. The parent corporation, of course, being the monstrous globalized corporation which owns and controls and contains 240 odd nations. So there are a few exceptions. The rogue states like North Korea and Iran and Syria, China and Russia are countries which we don't deal with them because they are the rogue states. They are weird, and but all those other countries are owned and controlled by the corporation state. I would suggest that China and Russia and Iran and Syria and North Korea, the rogue states, are the most enlightened amongst us because they haven't fallen victim yet to this house of Rothschild, monstrous, serpentine, Saturnian logic, which has taken over the entire planet in the last few hundred years.
Mm-hmm. So let's say that tomorrow I decide, okay, I'm not going to pay any attention to the rules or to the authorities because I am my own authority.
Correct.
And how you think that will work out? Because I'm a little concerned, if I start doing things like that, what will you say to me?
Well, I understand the question, but you see, it's not just, you can't just, pick up your pencil case and throw it at the teacher and think that that's going to reform the education system. That's not going to do it. There are ways and ways of playing chess. And frankly, the Babylonian priesthood are so stupid. Around about now, they can't even trigger World War III, even though they've got a quadrillion-dollar nuclear war machine. They're pretty stupid. That's because they are not able to engage with the quantum consciousness that is emerging. The heart consciousness of Earth is slam-dunking them at every turn. So they have no longer any traction. We don't need to aggressively engage with the system. Through the New Earth Nation and New Earth Project, we're engaging by beginning to architect the tribunals and the citizens' grand juries to be able to demonstrate to people through online streaming of open tribunals how we are going to be standing in judgment of those treasonous officials and treasonous corporations that have tried to intervene in our freedoms and liberties. So we are beginning that process now. People should just focus on what we're doing within the Law Academy of the New Earth Nation this year, or within the New Earth Institute, certainly. That I would suggest that you familiarize yourself with the alphabet of sovereignty through law by stating your case in a way that is equitable, is intelligent, is articulate, and is in a state of grace. What we do not encourage is people going out there with loaded shotguns and beginning to engage with that attitude, because so long as you are holding that heart space, you are going to be putting out the wrong kind of waveforms, and that will come back on you very quickly in an ugly way. But you are able to disengage from the system using pure law. You have to familiarize yourself with how to do it. We are putting those toolkits out, and much of that learning out through our workshops and what have you through the academy that will be released shortly. So I would suggest otherwise, people just begin to disassociate from the myth of power, from the myth of government, and stop filling out the forms in black capital letters, number one, because that is always the contract. Whenever you get, for instance, you get your demand, your income tax demand, they never say to you, oh, you owe $200,000, you must pay it within 30 days, or we'll come and shoot you in the head or take away your house. They don't do it that way. They send you the final demand, and then they say, if you feel that this is a wrong amount, then please fill out the form, show us where and why, and fill your name and sign it and seal it. That signature is what they're after on the form, because the minute you've even denied that, but written it and signed it, you've entered the contract. Now they have you, because you've agreed that you owe something, but you don't know how much, and they can come at you. So they only need to drop it now by 5 cents, and they can still come at you with your own acceptance, your own permission. Do not engage the contract. Write back and say, thank you, no thank you. Write back with a smiley face. Write back or don't write back, but do not fill your name out. What you can do is engage. There are many different movements teaching these tools to people in different states in America, and you would have to participate in that. Get onto those forums, get onto those blogs, connect with local sovereignty movements, and find the best method in your particular town or in your region. It will present itself to you. Generally speaking, the easiest way is to simply write back politely, say in honor, and invite that official, whoever sent that letter to you, say, I do not understand what this is about. I do not know that there is any law that exists that requires me to pay income tax. Could you please, without violating the Constitution, let me know what law it is that requires me? They will come back with some article or some act or some statute. You then write back and say, forgive me, that was an act or a statute or a code, which is not a law. I do not wish as a righteous member of my citizen. I do not wish to violate my own constitution. You're inviting me to violate my own constitution. You're asking me to commit treason against myself and pay you a ransom. I can't do that on conscience. Please show me where I am required to do it by law. They cannot do that because there is no law. So if you simply stick to that and do not let go of that, keep polite, keep loving, keep humorous, phone them up, have conversations with them. Ultimately, they will drop you and walk away because they have no traction. Do not fill your name out. Do not sign, seal, and put your mark on paper because you are dealing with the devil, people.
So you feel they cannot take you to jail at some point?
No, they cannot. They can kidnap you. Yes, they can kidnap you and they can put you in a prison cell, whereupon, if you are smart, you will then prosecute them for kidnapping. And you will be able to walk away with $5 million as opposed to paying $5,000 tax. So there's always a way and a way of engaging with the circle.
I feel it is very essential that we all get together because we are so many, we are billions of people, right? And it's just a few that are controlling everything. It's kind of ridiculous, right? That so many of us, with all the power that we have, are just disconnected. So that's the reason why we are afraid of this system. Oh, if something is going to happen if I don't do this. But really, if we, connect with people like you and start really coming into these communities and understanding what we can do and feeling that we are not alone, that we can hold each other's back, I feel that makes the whole difference.
Let me give a little, word to my beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. You people are being used as the litmus test for the planet right now. The so-called New World Order, this serpentine, centralized banking, Jesuit, Vatican, and Bank of England, Federal Reserve monstrosity is owning and containing, trying to own and contain and lock down the planet. And they're using the good people of the United States as the living experiment. And the more you acquiesce and roll on your back and allow these thugs in uniform to beat on you and taser you and shoot you dead in the streets, it's not going to go away. You have got to apprehend these thugs in costume. I have been watching hours and hours of police brutality coming out of the United States. It is grotesque. It is a monstrous nightmare we are seeing. I am literally swamped now because we're making a film about this. I am swamped with videos coming in of old women being punched in the face, of young, black, beautiful kids being shot in the back. I am sick to death of seeing this demonic behavior being permissioned on the streets of the United States by good people, standing back with their cameras. Don't stand back. Get involved. Tear that devil off the street. Pin him to the ground. Put a rock on him until other police will come and apprehend him for what he's doing. Hold your public officials accountable. Stop allowing people in uniform to roll over you. If they pull a taser at you, hit them on the head with a brick until they stop, because that is a clear violation. Don't allow it. Just because they have a uniform. Deal with every single human being in front of you on the merits of their action in front of you. Do not be afraid of uniforms. Do not be afraid of systems.
And
because
also,
if we started to regard police and officials as being loving brothers and sisters, and we project that back to them, that is going to bring the correct response. And there are very good officials there. There are very good FBI agents and CIA agents and Eagle Scouts in the military. There are very, very good police out there, but not nearly enough. That is the problem. But I can tell you this because I've dealt with enough of these agents myself, and these people, they want our support.
Right.
It is our brothers and sisters in uniform, the good ones, who really need support here and need us to participate in this re-education. They are also seeing some of their colleagues engaging in demonic behavior, but they feel unable to address it on their own. So I'm just suggesting that all of us stop paying any attention to any uniform whatsoever. A uniform is basically a paid privateer operating on behalf of a commercial entity known as a government, which is penalizing human beings and commercializing human beings for private gain. So all people in uniform, whether they know it or not, are privateers or pirates on the streets participating in penalizing human beings for private commercial gain for the stockholders of the corporate government. Ultimately, stockholders of the parent corporation, the House of Rothschild and the central banking cabal, which owns and controls most of the world's resources and land and governments through the fiction that they have manifested over the last few hundred years. We can go into this in great detail, but I don't want to take your viewers and your show into this kind of conversation.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing all of that up, because I feel that the people that is dedicated to being a policeman, being a doctor, all of them, the thing that they really want is to help others, and it's just the system what is not working correctly.
No. So Victoria, I've got to interject. I disagree with you. I have observed it sufficiently, and I don't believe that that's the case. I think that there is a small minority of police who choose to become policemen for those noble reasons. My experience has taught me that the majority, it may not be an overwhelming majority, but it's certainly a majority of people who are drawn towards a career in a uniform with a gun or a taser are people who are drawn to it for the wrong reasons, which is because they have a small penis, or because they have a low sense of self-esteem, or because they feel they need to empower others and extract their energetic in that way. And I think we need to be clear about this and quite blunt about it. I don't wish to be polite about people in uniform, because I don't feel that there is anything of grace or anything of noble expression in choosing a vocation to wear a uniform. I think that there may have been an excuse up until this point, and I know people in uniform, and I love them, the friends of mine who are engaged, but I would still have the same conversation with them and invite them now, as we are an awakening into a new storyline. Do you really want to cut your hair to a certain length and wear it the same uniform as some other drone and follow orders? Really? Is that noble expression, to be following some gutless, godless, witless orders coming from some mandarin in an office who himself has a small penis? Come now. Time to drop the uniforms. Time to drop this drone mentality. Time to engage in our beauty. Time to engage in our majesty and engage in our highest expression. And that is not tasering someone in the face in a shopping mall.
Maybe I misspoke. What I want to express is that, for example, I have friends that they want to find a way to kind of protect or help other people, and they think that the way is becoming a doctor or becoming a police. And I totally agree. I mean, I'm one that has been insulting police, just yelling at them, telling them, because you have a uniform, what you gonna tell me, So I totally understand that, because I've been there, and I actually went to apologize to a policeman once, because I treat him really bad, and I felt that as a human being, I cannot do that.
Good for you. That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. But Victoria, most lawyers and most doctors are not doctors and lawyers because they give a damn about protecting and defending human beings, or because they give a damn about making human beings better. Most lawyers and doctors today are pushed into those professions by family, by societal and familial expectations, and because it's a surefire way of screwing other human beings for money. Be clear about that. Let's just be very honest. It's a great way of being an intermediary, of being an intercessory, standing in between somebody and their capacity to defend themselves using pure law, or their capacity to heal themselves by learning about the body, learning about natural remedies, learning about cannabis oil, and about all sorts of natural earth medicines that can heal every condition on earth. It is the doctors and the pharmacopoeia that are standing in the way of that awakening. It is lawyers who are standing in the way of natural justice. End of story. So there is nothing noble about it. And once you know that, release it. Walk away from your PhD. It's a toxic piece of paper. It has no value at the soul level. It will not earn you much merit in the higher dimensions in our universe.
for somebody that wants right now, like I have a friend, that contacted me on Facebook, and she was saying, I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to be, a police. Another friend, maybe my husband, for example, he was studying for being a doctor, and in the middle of his career, he realized this is not what I want to do. So he changed to acupuncture. And
Bravo.
Acupuncture, yeah. So imagine, somebody that maybe is so conditioned in the system. What would you recommend to explore, or how would you recommend to just
I'd recommend they get on a plane to Peru and go and take some ayahuasca. Go and do some earth medicine. I would suggest that they just go walk into a forest or onto a mountain and shut up and just engage with silence. Sit on the earth, go barefoot, put your spine against a tree, shut your eyes, really just explore the silence, explore the inner dimension of being, allow the fractal nature, the crystal codes of inner earth to put you back together again. Remember yourself, remember your divinity, remember your noble expression, remember the legacy of millions of incarnations that have brought you here. Remember your unbearable beauty in a perfect moment of silence, and then ask yourself that question.
I wonder what would we choose to be if we came into this world in a community such as the ones that we are creating, knowing that we are divine, that we have choice, that we can reinvent how we live. The world really would be a completely different place, and the healing of our planet would be also something that can occur more easily. But right now, sometimes, the system is so strong in us. I feel that I took off a lot of the hypnosis because I didn't have television like for 15 years. But, still those things are so present for so many people.
Yes, it's true. It's true. But again, Victoria, one needs to just be in that space of silence to commune with self and ask oneself, what do I wish to manifest in this world? What do I wish to be? Not what do I want to do? Who do I wish to be? What are the colors that I want to explore? What are the dimensions that I wish to explore? And then be it. I grew up in a sub-Saharan African war for the first 16, 17 years of my life, and in apartheid. I was in a militaristic, very masculine, patriarchal, fucked up mindset, okay? And then spat out of that and had to determine where I go. It could have been this way or that way or the other way. We all of us choose. We all of us have reasons in our past that we can blame and say, well, I didn't have the tools. I was born in unequal circumstances. We can always blame our mother and our father and our community and our religion and the priest who abused me. And, we can always blame the past. And we can always fear the future, meaning to say, fear our true beauty, our true majesty, and not enter into it. So that much we can choose to do. But both of those are myths. Neither of them exist in the now. My past is dead. All of the traumas that haunted me are no longer haunting me. That's it. I release and relinquish in one pure action the past. I release and relinquish any devotion toward a plan for the future. I have no interest in tomorrow what's going to happen. Right now, I'm sitting in paradise. We have manifested it. We are living it. We are breathing it. And we are spreading that joy, spreading those empathic waves as far as they will reach. And let me tell you, they reach the other side of the galaxy. I know because it comes right back and hits me in the back of the head.
Beautiful. We need to take ownership of pieces of land and start restoring the earth. So I'm excited of what you are doing, what we are doing, and I see things coming together. I'm so excited. I feel an enormous change in the last few years. So I wanted to ask you one thing. There is this idea that we chose to come into this world with these challenges because we want to grow spiritually. Do you share that idea, or do you think that that is just not real?
Well, I think that what we need to do is stop creating a distinction between spirituality and life. I think that living is a spiritual exercise, and everything is spirit in that sense. I think what the human mind has managed to do since we emerged out of the swamp before we were genetically interseeded by different galactic intelligences in order to become this creature, the Homo sapiens sapien. I think that I don't know. I mean, I don't see beyond this moment right now. I can't see beyond the moment right now, and I don't want to. I know that that's where our power exists, is simply right here, right now, and owning my direct connection, umbilical connection to source consciousness. That much I'm aware of, because that exists in the here and now. Everything else is immaterial. I don't like the word spirit any longer. I don't like the idea or the notion of spirituality. I find it offensive because I know that spirit is fluid, it's quantum. It is all and everything all at the same time. So why is my mind still defining a limited bandwidth and then separating that from the rest of reality and saying, I must move towards that. I must follow that path. I must try to become more spiritual. Let's just disengage with the words, because the words are what are fracturing our capacity for immersing ourselves in the business of being spirit in form, which is who and what we are.
And that brings something up very, very important, I think, which is, many times when we think of ascension or being more spiritual, we kind of want to separate parts of ourselves and just stay, as you were saying, in this kind of bandwidth. But I feel that what we really need is to integrate all of who we are. So I always encourage that integration of, our whole beingness.
Yes.
So that's very true. Thank you.
Well, I mean, your husband would know more about this than most people, because he's an acupuncturist, and he understands that one pressure point on this part of my hand affects some organ. This is extraordinary. This is ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge, that every part is connected to the whole. But there are some parts which are more compressed values, and we can learn where those meridians exist. We can learn where those acupressure points exist. And let me tell you, people, the Babylonian priesthood have known for millennia where those acupressure points are. You think the Eiffel Tower was put in that particular point for no reason? Let me tell you, the Eiffel Tower is sitting dead center on top of a monolithic energy node. And that node is now being anchored by the cock of Baal, by this penis, this phallus that is the Eiffel Tower. It is not what your history books teach you, and neither is the Washington Monument, neither is the Bank of England, or neither is the Notre Dame Cathedral. These churches and temples and mosques and synagogues, cathedrals, reserve banks, Masonic lodges, monuments have invariably been placed there by these Masonic occultic elites, precisely because they were following this arcane Canaanite logic of anchoring down the energetic points in order to maintain containment of the hyperenergetics of the human and planetary condition. Very clever stuff. It's gone on for a very long time. Again, we simply need to release ourselves from these old forms. Ultimately, all of those energetic centers and hubs or nodes are contained anyway in the subspace vacuum quanta of the human heart. So you contain anyway that hyperdimensional power in every single center, every single sentient being. We don't need to be dependent on the planet or the meridians of the ether or of the earth in order to engage with our hyperdimensionality. The more conscious we become as living sentient beings, we own and contain the stargate, the time gate, the capacity to engage with the quantum exists in my center at all times.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Another big theme. We're going to start closing up. I would like for you to share people that wants to get in touch with you. They would just go to New Earth Nation.
Well, newearthnation.org is the primary portal. The new community portal is launching shortly within that, which is where the communities that are emerging around the world can begin to exchange and do the knowledge transfer. We have the New Earth Institute with, I think, about 10 faculties, many academies as well, which are also, you can get access those through the New Earth Nation portal. Within the community portal, we'll be inviting, for instance, you and your husband to establish the micronation. Call it what you want. It looks how you want it to. You can use our bioarchitecture. We'll give you all of the templates we've got and the engineering, the technology know-how. We can give this freely. But whatever it is that you determine to manifest becomes the micronation, a satellite to the New Earth Nation. The New Earth Nation simply becomes this global connected web of micronations, which are all determining 0-point economics and pure sovereignty of expression, and are no longer under the containment or the fictitious ownership of private corporations, institutions, which have stolen their sovereignty through history. So that's what we're becoming. We anticipate within a year or two that we will become arguably the biggest nation on earth, which would be right and appropriate, depending on the awakening. People's homes and farms and forest dwellings and mountains and wherever they are, that land territorial holding becomes a micronation satellite to the greater nation of living men and living women. That's how we've designed it. I'm not sitting in central command with a bank of computer screens controlling accounts. We don't operate that way. We don't need to be engaged in that bullshit. We engage in pure law, and we engage in 0-point economics and in perfectly balanced social ecology. All of us, as you and your husband and your community join the New Earth Nation, you input through the institute, through the faculties, through the academies. Maybe set up your new academy there as well. If you have a component to the holographic brain, bring that in and then plug and play. This is our playing field. Let's have fun.
Beautiful. Sounds exciting. I'm excited to share this with my husband and check it out, really start doing something more active that way.
Bravo.
Thank you so much, Sacha. It's beautiful speaking with you. You know, I love your videos and what you are sharing and your spirit, what you are creating. You're really how you're making things happen, because once again, sometimes we get so much into our ideas, but the important thing is really creating the structure so that we can more easily create these communities. I think that is essential. So thank you so much.
Victoria, delightful meeting you, and I look forward to engaging with you and your husband and your community of living men and living women. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Karen Newman from the show About Oneness, and here's what's coming up on the Enlightenment Evolution Network starting on Monday, September the 1st through Sunday, September the 7th. Rob Gautier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension. Starting on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, the Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more information about Daniel on his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. On Tuesday at noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychics, mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching. Your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gautier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of each month. He will take callers' questions. On the third Wednesday, they will have special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other true Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their mind. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can find him at trebchanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has two special announcements. Introducing what is shaping up to be the event of the year for Treb Channeling. We are very excited to have some of the greatest channelers in the world. On Sunday, September 13th, beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Channel Panel. This is a live, interactive, online event. The event will be easily accessible to anyone with internet on their device, phone, Mac, or PC. This is a 6-hour event with the greatest names in channeling today, including Brad Johnson, John Callie, Nora Harold, Rob Gautier, and Daniel Scranton, and your host, Kalina Angel. The cost of this event is $45, and if you go to trebchanneling.com, you can register and find out the details there. Also, the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now, is now in the fundraising stages of production. The movie Tuning In Now will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gautier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. With a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50,000, you can make sure that this film is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com. That's www.indiegogo.com and type in the search Tuning In Now with the number 2. There's a full list there of plans for contribution and how you can help. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Malika with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the fifth dimension. Find Philip on the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group page on Facebook and on YouTube. On Fridays, The Earth Experience with host Kalina Angel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experiences on Earth. Kalina will help you navigate through the exciting confusions that we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Saturday, Odyssey of Ascension with your host, Roxanne Swainhart, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join the one and only Roxanne Swainhart for 2 hours of knock your socks off ascension downloads. Be open, be ready, and just be with her while she answers your questions about ascension, extraterrestrials, soul purpose, energy activations, and all things ascension. Roxy is a channeler and ascension guide extraordinaire in these extraordinary times. Living in San Antonio, Roxy received an awakening experience and promptly exploded onto the metaphysical scene, posting videos, blogging, doing live group channelings, and changing the lives of all she encounters. She features guests and channel entities such as the Siphius, the Hathor Guides, the Sani Guides, and the Collective Oversoul Fire, just to name a few. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, is my show, About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. I'm an American originally from Charleston, South Carolina, now living in The Hague in the Netherlands. I'm an integrated channel, medium, Reiki master, and metaphysical teacher. I have a varied and diverse background, including that of being a singer, dancer, writer, as well as working in the sport, nutrition, and the fitness world. As a channel, I bring forward the information of my non-physical guides called Vives, whose message is always that of oneness and unconditional love. The show for me is about integrating all of my experiences and following my highest excitement, which is tapping into truth and learning more about my place in the universe. If you want to learn more about me or hear about my upcoming guests, as well as see many videos about channelings and teachings, you can go to aboutoneness.com. My guest on Sunday, September 7th, is Crystal Vandenacker. She is a medium, Reiki master, and channel. She will be online, taking calls and giving readings. Then on the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too. On Tuesdays, join host Victoria Vives at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth Sky People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Victoria's guest this week will be me, Karen Newman, and we will be talking about A Course in Miracles. I will be channeling Theos, and we will also talk, of course, about oneness. You can find more about Victoria Vives at victoriavives.com/radio. And you may think that that's all, but there are several new shows coming on to the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too, including a show by the Pied Piper. Details soon to follow. Then starting on Sundays, September 21st, The Resonance Intention, hosted by Soul and Neil Gower. The Resonance Intention show is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They will showcase conscious musicians who infuse frequencies into their music and are set out to raise the vibration of humanity through their music. They will have an in-depth conversation with various artists about their passion, purpose, and personal journey that led them to where they are now. Additionally, they will routinely have guests on the topics of free energy technology and other quantum modalities or technologies that are coming into existence now. The Resonance Intention is a platform for artists, musicians, and inventors to increase awareness of their personal approach in order to contribute to the paradigm shift we are currently within. And remember, you never have to miss any show on the Enlightenment Evolution Network. All shows are available to listen to again immediately after they air on playback.
You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement.